Good morning. First, I wanted to thank you for the feedback you gave me on my video earlier this week about adding to the direction of this channel, not just being training, but offering not necessarily advice, but answering questions and being more engaging with the community. The feedback was great. It was encouraging enough to where I feel like this is something that I probably should do. I want to give you a heads up. It's so noisy in my gym right now. I hope that you hear me versus all the background noise. But to get this series kicked off, I thought I would answer a question that I received this morning on my Instagram. And I get this question multiple times a week. I don't know why people are so fixated on what I wear, but it's really something that I just get so tired of answering. And not to be overly dramatic, I tend to do that, but these gloves that I wear occasionally in my videos, they're just really flimsy cotton gloves. They're not for hand protection. My hands are protected by good technique and hand care maintenance. That's why I don't tear and rip my hands all over. Now, they happen occasionally, tears do, long training sets, heavy loads, when sweat gets involved, over gripping happens, heavy bells, over gripping happens. Like, it's not uncommon to have hand tears, but if you're using good technique and you're taking care of your hands, you shouldn't have any issues, long-term issues, repeated issues with tears and need to wear gloves to protect them. If you have to wear gloves to protect your hands, you're going to be better off addressing your form issues and maintaining proper hand care techniques. And so that's a better question to ask. Those cotton gloves, I buy like a pack of 10 of them at the local hardware store down the street. All they do is compromise the grip. My grip is a weak spot of mine, and so sometimes I wear the gloves because my body's beat up and I need to use lighter bells, and I still want to get a better workout in, so I compromise my grip. Sometimes in a training set, my coach has me wear them, but again, it's to address a weakness. It's not to protect anything. The other thing along that line of what are you wearing, Levi? What's on your arms, Levi? Where do I get those guards, Levi? These guards, these are actually trimmed. I cut them with the scissors. They used to go all the way up to my elbows, but they're calf sleeves, they're running sleeves. They're not even for my arms, but I wear them to absorb sweat. I want to keep my hands dry, and keeping my hands dry, here's the other ones I wear. I got these on Google. They're not fancy, they're not special. I just want dry hands, and that's all it is. And so there's nothing magical. There's nothing like, people want to avoid the discomfort of kettlebell training, whether it's grip related or hands or tears or just how the bell sits on your arm. Here's some bruising. I don't notice it. I don't feel it, but you do enough reps, you're going to get tougher, and you do enough reps that are good quality reps, you don't have to worry about protecting something that doesn't need to be protected. If you need guards on your forearms, we have some work to do from a technique standpoint, and that's all this is. It's just flimsy wristbands or calf running sleeves that I turned into wristbands. Anyway, all right. Sorry to be annoyed, but again, I think I put out really good content and really different content. And then the question I get is, oh, what's on your hands? What's on your arms? And it wouldn't be that big a deal if I didn't answer it every video. But anyway, all right, moving on. So the first actual question that was intriguing to me, beyond everything else that I'll be addressing over time here, and it's still on that. I took a screenshot of it and I can't see his name, but it's still a comment that's on the previous video, and it just says, not kettlebell related, but I'd love to hear how you fostered such a strong relationship with your daughter, and anything you noticed over the years that contributed to you being a great father and husband. And so first, I appreciate the assumption that I'm a great father and husband. Depending on the day, you may get a different answer from those that I do care about. But again, thank you. I asked my daughter that, and I said, hey, I don't want to speak for you. Do you have any insights on this question? and that I can share with you're comfortable with me sharing on YouTube. And she said the biggest thing is that she was raised with Christian values and beliefs, and that allows her to have the necessary grace and forgiveness for me when I screw up. And what is amazing about my daughter, who is 23 and recently married, and I could not be more proud of her as her dad, as watching her as an athlete, competing, and just who she's becoming, is what's been like amazing in her maturation process is understanding that every time I sucked as a dad, which happens, she was able to come to the realization that as she was my only child, like every time I screwed up, this is my first time being a dad. This is my first time having a child in her age demographic. This is my first time. And so she was able to come to this realization, probably through scripture, that, I need grace and forgiveness as her dad. And I think over time, as I recognized, that undeserved grace, or depending on what the situation was, but able to recognize that she deserves to be treated, not just as a regular kid or a teenager or whatever season of life she's in, is someone that needs to be respected and honored as well. And if I'm going to receive that grace and forgiveness when I screw up, then I absolutely have to lead, called husband, father, that I need to be that example. And don't always do it well, or don't always do it quickly, but admitting my mistakes and taking ownership when I do screw up is pretty important. And again, not that I always do it well or fast or accurately, but she allows me to make mistakes and allows me to love her how she needs to be loved. And it's been amazing over the years. When we never, in my opinion, didn't have a bad relationship ever, but as she's matured and as I've matured, I wouldn't trade our relationship right now for anything in the world. And I just am so in love with her as her dad, and I'm just so excited for her future. The other thing that that really jumped out to me in her answer was that, whether it's just marriage, which is a whole different conversation. Marriage is, and fatherhood is so rewarding, but it's so challenging. If it's so much work, but it's all worth it. But as a family, developing an us versus the problem, and understanding that my wife and my daughter, or me in their case, isn't the problem. It's making sure that we're all on the same team and communicating that. She felt like she was in an environment where safe communication is encouraged, and that she is going to be heard when she has an issue or a problem or a concern, when she's anxious. Not to fear punishment, but to know that she's loved, and that not that all punishment is bad, and not that punishment can't be love. There's a lot of times where we deserve to be punished, whether it's by our Heavenly Father or but punishment is correction, and when it's done in love, it's not because you're a bad person. It's because we want what's best for you, and understanding the difference. And not that she ever did things where I had to have an iron fist over her, but at the same time, when punishment was necessary, it was done in love and done in an environment where she knew that she was safe. I tried to, this took a long time because I'm also the son of a coach, and tried to get to the point where some of the issues I had growing up with my parents, which this isn't a shot at my parents, but making sure that the environment again is one where I can come confidently to my parents and know that I'm going to be heard and respected. And of course, I'm sure all kids go through it where they don't feel like that's the case. And I have examples in my life with both my mom and my dad. Um, you know, and that doesn't mean they're bad parents. The same grace that I get from my daughter, I need to give them. I'm the oldest of their biological children, and so, I was the first of theirs, and so just like my daughter shows me grace, I need to do that the same for them. But anyway, it's trying to from a coach athlete standpoint, and then a father daughter standpoint. We're not winning and losing. We're winning and learning, and that allowed her to make some choices. And us allowing her to make her own choices and allowing her to make mistakes, and then dealing with the outcome. And generally, when you do this as an us versus the problem, it worked out well. And she had said that it's not hard. I'm going to read this. It's not hard as a kid to grow up and move on when you know your parents are always going to be there. And I just think that, I have a wonderful life that is a part of this relationship with my daughter, and I'm blessed. I've often shared with her, Shay, that I don't know why I was chosen to be your dad, because I feel like she's such a blessing to me, and it's just one of those ongoing building relationships that it just keeps getting better with time, and I couldn't be more grateful. And so thank you for the question, and that was really the only question that wasn't related to training in some aspect, but yeah, it was just something that as her dad, and I tell her she's the best of me, and I truly believe that, and I just wanted to address that first. And so next time we'll talk about kettlebells. Thank you.